We're back after wandering the barren wastelands of no internet and family obligations.
My God, how long does it take an internet company to get your service restored?
Obviously 12 days.
In this day and age, that's unacceptable.
But it's back. It's back up to its top level than it was before. I learned some things about myself. Kind of had a internet-free Lord of the Flies moment or two. But
Sports Frenzy 2.0 is back, baby.
that is right. To my right is the conquistador, your Uncle Dave, Dave Height.
And that is the maestro, Kevin Crane.
After a couple weeks away, a forced vacation, not the kind of vacation I would have liked, but still, I always pictured if I was going to take my first vacation from Sports Frenzy, it was going to be my trip to the Chicken Ranch. And what do I get? I get no internet and have to walk around and talk to all my neighbors about storm damage.
Not the way you want to spend the time. No.
Instead of spending a quality $500 hour with Sapphire. All right.
But your favorite politically incorrect sports commentary is back with a vengeance, people.
Yep, taping here on April the 16th, 2025, dropping early tomorrow, April the 17th. Let me get this out of the way right off the bat. As we play catch-up, we'll be doing this on the weekend edition as well. Now, with the sports stuff, we're going to catch up this week, and then we're back. Back up to where we should be. With the weekend edition, we have got a backlog now
Yes.
of movies and TV shows
and books
that we had to use and watch and read to get ourselves through these past couple of weeks. So we're not going to hit you all at once on the weekend edition. We're going to stretch that out over the next maybe month, maybe a month.
Yeah, we got some time.
But again, sports this week, we will get everything caught up and get it current as it needs to be.
Because next week we got to give you our draft preview, people.
There you go. Read my mind. See, we part ways for 3 weeks, and we're just back simpatico again. He reads my mind, and I read his, and oh my God, kids, you don't want to know what's going on in his mind.
Oh, plots to take over the world.
So, I know how much Dave loves basketball, so we're going to start with NASCAR.
Sure, why not?
Get you caught up.
And
now,
then we'll talk play-in tourney.
And we got to catch you up on the March Madness.
Yep.
Because we didn't get a chance to discuss the Final Four and the championship game. But NASCAR, we got to go back here a couple weeks. Go back to Darlington, the Goodyear 400, where Sam and I, along with Nick, had William Byron. Dave and Jen had Joey Logano along with Aaron. Doug had Chase Elliott. Bill had Tyler Reddick. And, of course, that was the race where Christopher Bell got the pole. William Byron looked unbelievable, dominating.
He was untouchable.
Until the end.
Until the end.
When Denny Hamlin won. And then we go forward to the next week. The Food City 500 from Bristol, where Dave and I and Aaron and Nick said, why can't Denny Hamlin
go back to back? And he had a damn good shot at doing it if frickin' Kyle Larson wouldn't have been on a rail all damn day.
Yep. So, yeah.
Hamlin was the second best.
Yep. Darlington, Denny Hamlin went back to back. We thought he could do 3 in a row just like Bell. Yeah. Right now, it is Sam and Jen's world in our competition, and we're just
along for the ride.
Yeah, they are way out in front. So, the points are good. I love the points.
Points? We're good on points. We just can't get a damn win.
Yep. Now, let's discuss some of the topics that have come up over the last couple weeks. NASCAR, I don't know how important this is, but they announced their first ever commissioner, which is Steve O'Donnell, or Steve Phelps, I'm sorry. Steve O'Donnell gets a promotion from COO to president. It's still the blind leading the blind.
Yep. It's still France run, France controlled. It's a puppet shadow government.
And then while I was without the internet, I had my phone. I don't like using my phone. So I had it. I could look at things. Couldn't work on spreadsheets to send out to the group, that kind of stuff. But then I see this bizarre headline pop up. Dale Earnhardt Jr. loses a trademark dispute over the number 8 with Lamar Jackson.
This is one of the dumbest fucking things ever.
I still can't make sense of this. Earnhardt backed off and switched to what they're calling a stylized version of the number 8.
Yeah, because they both wanted to use the same style of the number 8. Sorry, Lamar. Junior had it long before you.
Yeah, Dale.
You entitled little NFL twit.
Dale Jr. doesn't have a lot of luck, whether he's fighting his evil stepmom or now Lamar Jackson. And how do you get to trademark an 8? I know it's how it looks, but still, that's odd to me. You now get to trademark a number depending on how it looks?
Yeah.
All right.
Senior had the 3 trademarked.
Okay. I'm not trying to be naive here. I'm not. Just seems a little bit odd to me.
Just the way it's set and shaped and the style. And me thinks Lamar may have paid Junior off for the abrupt about face.
Okay, so once again, to recap the last few races. Make sure I got everything straight here. I'm going to be rusty this week, kids. So deal with it. All the way back to Martinsville. Christopher Bell, pole. Denny Hamlin wins. Darlington, William Byron, pole. Hamlin, back-to-back. Bristol, Alex Bowman, pole. Kyle Larson dominates. Now, let's stick with Bristol now, since that's the most recent race. Get us caught up on NASCAR. How they have absolutely destroyed Bristol.
The racing there, it's pedestrian.
Number one thing that jumped out at me watching the race, empty seats.
Yep.
A lot of empty
Priced
seats.
it out. And the racing isn't as good as it used to be. Gone is the bump and run. Gone is the close contact. It's no longer the Coliseum bull ring knocking doors that you expect Bristol to be.
And that's sad. That's sad.
It used to be the hottest track to try and get tickets to. Gone.
Now here are some stats to back this up. Now this is combining Bristol with Darlington. After the Bristol race, first time since the last race of 76 and the first race of 1977 that you had 4 or fewer lead changes in back-to-back cup races.
Oof. Ouch.
At Bristol specifically, you had the longest green flag run at Bristol, destroying the previous mark, recent mark, August 2004, 229 straight green flag laps. They ran 235 at the end. Straight green flag laps. September of 1997, you have to go to Dover. September 97, where they ran 301 green flag laps.
Yeah, it's... oof.
These are not good things, kids. They are not.
No, because You get somebody on a rail, they can take off and go. Crews don't have the extra seconds on pit lane to make adjustments.
Then, of course, we will cover moments of silence throughout the show where we see them fitting in, if need be. And this is one of those moments. Now, I don't know. I'm not such a NASCAR geek that I know who John Edwards was. But this was a very emotional win for Rick Hendrick Motorsports with Kyle Larson dominating at Bristol. I guess John Edwards helped him out a little bit when he first came on with Rick Hendrick, and of course was very important with Jeff Gordon when
one
he
of
was
those
racing.
behind the scenes guys.
Right. So John Edwards passed away here recently. So that all kind of tied in at Bristol. So some other interesting little tidbits. Now, as I say, we're rusty, but trust me, the vitriol, the political incorrectness,
It will be
the anger
there.
will come.
Wait for it.
Now, this kind of bothers me because I remember when we reported back a couple months ago, right before the season started, we talked about the introduction of the bonus point for the Xfinity fastest lap.
Yeah.
However, somehow NASCAR slipped it under the radar, and we weren't the only ones to miss this. I noticed a lot of top-tier sports media entities missed this as well, and just finally this week caught on. Because NASCAR hired a firm to start finding a new title sponsor for their second-tier series. Xfinity is out at the end of this year.
Oh my.
Yeah, and this was supposedly announced in the same press release where
Of
they
the
announced...
Xfinity fastest lap.
Yeah, but next year it'll be called something else because Xfinity's not going to be with us next year as a title sponsor.
And where were the headlines for that?
Yeah. So Xfinity will be out as series sponsor at the end of 2025. And as I mentioned, they have hired a firm to try to find a new series sponsor.
Fuck it, let's just go back to calling it the Winston Cup and the Busch Series.
But yeah, what's wrong with the Busch Series? Busch is one of the biggest sponsors out there for NASCAR right now.
Maybe they need to just pony it back in.
And good news, which you will appreciate on the Xfinity front. The return to Rockingham has sold out.
Excellent. Love Rockingham.
Now, a few weeks back, maybe a month and a half, we mentioned the train wreck that was Catherine Legge.
Yeah.
Not doing very well at all in her Cup debut.
No bueno.
That was at Phoenix.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, so she's coming back for 5 races, Dave.
Why? Who signed her for
and
this?
that's just on the Cup side. That she's also got a handful of Xfinity races.
Who'd she blow to get this deal?
She will be running, starting June the 15th, she will run the Mexico City Cup race. After that, she will be in the Chicago Street Race, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and Richmond. Stay away! Stay very...
short track.
Yeah. Stay very, very far away. Yeah. The road course seems to be her specialty.
Sure.
Along with fellatio, according to you. So
it was an innocent question. How did she get this deal?
NASCAR is, it's obvious, NASCAR is trying to diversify.
But there are better female drivers out there who deserve an opportunity.
How about the future ex-Mrs. Crane? You never gave her a shot, bastards. And it'll probably end up causing a divorce one day once we meet and get married. Speaking of divorce, remember Brian Vickers?
Yes.
Won a couple
Red
races.
Bull.
Yep. Known for running the Red Bull car. Did win an Xfinity
Yep.
Again, back then, something different. The second tier championship.
Yep.
Won a few cup races. Turns out this week that life isn't so good right now for Brian Vickers, even though, I'm sure he's still got more money than us. And he's doing
Probably. He's probably doing okay.
But he's getting divorced. He's divorcing his wife. I will not mention her name, because she's already got a spot reserved in hell.
Wow.
Now, I don't know about Brian. I don't know when he found this out. I think they've been married for 10 years. Brian Vickers' soon-to-be ex-wife used to be an assistant for Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh! Wow.
She was one of, I believe, 3 people who got immunity in the Epstein case.
Oh.
She supposedly had a Rolodex of young women
Oof.
to call up if Mr. Epstein needed a hookup.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
how do
many comments. Can you really feel bad for Vickers? How did he meet her? Was he involved in any of these Epstein shindigs as part of the whole Red Bull group? See, you pull on one thread and it all comes unraveled.
Yeah. So this is a very
there's
odd,
a lot to unwrap here.
very odd, bizarre story out of NASCAR. But that gets you caught up, kids. That gets you caught up. So next week we will have our picks for Talladega.
Dega.
This is the only break, technically the only break of the regular season here, Easter weekend. The All-Star race doesn't count for points, but otherwise, outside of this weekend, the Cup guys run something every weekend for the rest of the year. Now we'll move on to basketball, because I know Dave's been just itching to start talking about hoops.
Sure, why not?
What we do have to talk about, of course, that we didn't get to talk about for the last few weeks is the College Basketball National Championship.
Yep, congratulations to the Florida Gators.
Great game, great championship game.
I have to say, thank God it was Florida and not Houston, because damn Kelvin Sampson to hell for being a douchebag of a coach and obliterating recruiting violations over the years.
Florida was down for most of this game, but they came back and won when it counted, 65-63. And that's the third national title for the Florida Gators. Of course, the first two,
Mr. Billy Donovan,
who happened to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame here recently, along with Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, and a bunch of lesbians. Bunch of WNBA players. And of course, speaking of lesbians, WNBA players. We had the WNBA draft here a few nights ago. Number 1 pick, of course, UConn's Paige Beckers goes to the Dallas Wings. Don't make any jokes. Don't dare make any jokes.
Don't.
Women, Wings, don't you do it. Now I will say this, and now I'm going to start getting into my typical grumpy ass Kevin mode.
Playtex Arena. Oh, sorry.
No, I wasn't. See, but you just did it. What I said you weren't supposed to do.
It was the low hanging fruit.
You sexist pig.
You teed it up. You left it hanging right there.
I expect better out of the women. I will say that. Yeah, I joke about how half the league is lesbians, but with exceptions, Angel Reese, they seem to be a little bit more mature and well-spoken than their NBA counterparts. And
Yeah.
we have a special appearance at the end of the show for one of those players. But Paige Bueckers, when I actually watched the first half hour of the draft. And when we watch the NFL draft next Thursday, we have been doing this now for, at least a decade.
Yeah.
We tend to get a little bit antsy with how they stretch this crap out, especially over the first hour or two.
Painfully awful.
Oh my God, the WNBA draft was far worse. I mean, it was supposed to start at 7:30. I think they had 2 picks in by 8 o'clock.
Oh my God. That's bad.
Then it finally started to pick up, but at that point I didn't give a rat's ass.
Who cares at that
Once
point?
Notre Dame's first player came off the board, I was out. But 2 things. Number one, Paige Bueckers. I'm sorry, I'm not a racist. Whatever you want to call me, I don't care. But Paige Bueckers is a white, blonde woman. Okay?
Yeah.
She talks like she's from the ghetto. And I'm like, come on. What are we doing here? Seriously? Then the other thing was, her and at least one other woman who was drafted early on. Now, I understand women tend to do this more than men. Even though the guys at the NBA draft will dress very bizarrely at times, have very odd suits, color combinations. Even the NFL draft will see a little bit of that.
You get a little individualism sneaking through.
But now with the women, it's different. Because you got certain things that maybe you want to be a little sexy, and women
The nightgowns tend to...
Women will always do this. And I'm not just singling out the WNBA draft.
You got to look at any awards show.
Yes, perfect. The Academy Awards, the Golden Globes.
Emmys,
men might have bizarre color combinations, but they will still dress comfortably. As comfortably as you can be in a suit and tie.
Right.
But women have more carte blanche. Women can kind of...
They will be sewn into things and not be able to move.
There were 2 women selected at the top of the draft, Paige Bueckers being one, who decided to go with the sport jacket buttoned and nothing underneath. Okay? So they were naked. They were buck naked underneath the sports jacket. And it was all they could do to put their hand, once they had to stand up and their name was called, had to take their hand, hold themselves in. Yeah, hold themselves in, hold the top of the jacket together as they leaned over to hug people and leaned over to, smooch somebody, mom or dad or boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever. And then go up to the commissioner. And I'm like, why do you dress like that if you are worried that the puppies are going to fall out? How about you be comfortable in arguably one of the biggest moments of your life?
And if you don't want to be thought of as a sex symbol, stop dressing that way.
Anyway, those were my criticisms of the WNBA draft. Now, of course, since we record, the studio is close by Notre Dame. I should note that 3 Notre Dame players were drafted. So good for Notre Dame in that respect. For them. But bad, this whole NIL mess, which we're waiting to hear.
Pardon me.
They're meeting in Washington right now. All the heads of the big schools and people from Congress. Ted Cruz is there. Cory Booker is there. Oh, Cory Booker will make an appearance, by the way, at the end of the Weekend Edition episode. But they're trying to figure out how to proceed going forward with the new landscape of college sports.
Yes, the NIL currently is destroying college sports.
Because right now it's a wild, wild west. They're trying to institute rules. Supposedly, this $20.5 million salary cap will start, I think it's July the 1st, if they push this all through. And they end up agreeing with the judge agrees with them. Yeah. But for right now, all these teams are throwing at all the money they can at all these players to transfer.
And you've got the Baylor men's team is non-existent right now. Everybody's gone via graduation, draft, or transfer. Baylor has no men's basketball team at this point.
And how many years removed from a national championship?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then I was going to say with the Notre Dame women, the women are not excluded from this.
No.
Now, I did read here a couple hours before we started recording, they do have a couple transfers coming in, but they lost four significant players to other schools, including star Olivia Miles going to TCU, and then they lost 5 to graduation in the draft.
Yep.
So the Notre Dame women have to rebuild that team almost from scratch.
This is beyond ridiculous. We fucking told you it was going to be bad. It's even worse than we thought it was going to be.
Yep. So let's go back to on the court. So we talked about the WNBA draft. We talked about Paige Beckers. We should note, as we travel back in time, trying to play catch up, the UConn women, thank God,
beat South Carolina.
Very, very rare that you find me rooting for Gino Auriemma and UConn, but in this case, absolutely. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. UConn destroyed South Carolina 82-59 for their 12th title, and all of them, the head coach was one Gino Auriemma. So, kind of hard to dispute that program being, if not the greatest of all time, one of the greatest. Now, I do want to bring up one thing as we go back even further in time. We talked about the national championship, Florida over Houston. Now, there were some coaching changes. The coaches jumping ship left and right. Maryland head coach Kevin Willard goes to Villanova. Buzz Williams leaves Texas A&M to go to Maryland. Then, the one game I do have to point out, and you and I this killed me in our bracket competition. I finished second. I finished one game behind the elder statesman. He and I both had the title game and the champion correct. And I told everybody in podcast land, when we went over our brackets, what did I say to you?
One game was going to be the deciding factor.
I said, Sam and I have almost identical brackets.
Except.
And I'm going to get burned somehow on this. And I had Alabama in the Final Four. You had them in the final game, right?
Yep.
And Alabama lost to Duke. And that cost me. That's the one that cost me. But before that, the game before that, I believe, was where Alabama smoked BYU. Just a fun fact, kids. Alabama in that game hit a record 25 three-pointers in beating BYU 113-88. Alabama would have won the game even if you only counted the three-pointers and the free throws. If you had taken away every two-pointer, Alabama still would have won the game. Because they had 18 free throws, 25 three-pointers. Do the math, 93 points. Still would have been more than the 88 for BYU. I just found that fascinating.
Amazing.
All right, so let's move on to the NBA. Because we know how much Dave loves the NBA. And of course, I'm still mad at him. I believe it was on the podcast right before disaster struck. And you kids had to go without us for almost 3 whole weeks. Where he said, maybe they should move the Orlando Magic. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
It was a thought.
And now you and I are going toe-to-toe, head-to-head, mano-a-mano. Because Orlando now is as healthy as they're going to be, playing very good basketball. They destroyed the Atlanta Hawks last night, 120-95 to secure the number 7 seed. And they will now go against the Boston Celtics.
There you go.
And lose in 4 games. This is why I was saying I really kind of thought they might choke this one on purpose to try to get the better matchup against Cleveland.
But you never know.
Yeah, and unfortunately the Magic, they did come back, evened everything up at 41-41. They did win their division at 41-41. They are the first team since the ABA-NBA merger
To go
1976.
To go 500 and win their division?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And even worse news, because it was back down south where I used to live. Of course, I lived outside of Orlando, but I lived in Osceola County. And of course, the G League team linked to the Magic, the Orlando Magic, is the Osceola Magic, who play at the Silver Spurs Arena.
It's a magical place.
Don't make me hurt you.
What? It's the home of the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, we know how much we love Disney, right?
Yep. Down with the rat.
The Osceola Magic lost the G League title game to Stockton. The Stockton Kings, I believe, Sacramento's G League affiliate. So not only do the Magic have to face off against the Boston Celtics, but they couldn't even win the G League. So, not happy. Not happy about that at all. In terms of the All-Star game, and it doesn't matter. We're not picking on the NBA because all these All-Star games just suck.
Yeah, the only All-Star game that used to be worthwhile was Major League Baseball's All-Star game. And that's gone now.
I still think it was a mistake. You should have let that game count for home field in the World Series.
I loved it. It mattered. Everybody played for it. You got great games out of it. Now, who cares? Now you have the idiot announcers talking to the players as they're trying to make a play on the field.
And the broadcasts are fractured among how many different streaming services
it's
and
just
regional sports networks.
dumb.
Half of them are going bankrupt. Well, in the NBA, remember how they tried this little 4-team pickup format?
Yeah, that nobody liked.
Yep, well, guess what? It ain't coming back in 2026. It's again a work in progress as they try to figure it out.
They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Now, firing head coaches. Very, very difficult decision to make in some cases, especially when you're in line to make the playoffs.
Yeah, how do you fire your coach when you are in the playoffs?
Well, it happened not once but twice over the last few weeks in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies fired their head coach, Taylor Jenkins. At the time, they fired him. They were 5th in the West. And, of course, he held the record for most wins in Grizzlies history as a head coach with 250. Now, of course, they dropped after they fired him to the 8 slot and just lost last night to the Golden State Warriors. So now they will host the last chance game as they will play the winner of tonight's Dallas Mavericks Sacramento Kings affair.
Yeah. How did that change work for you? It didn't, you idiots.
And then the Nuggets, the Denver Nuggets. Supposedly all this behind-the-scenes drama not only fired their head coach Michael Malone, who, yes, has a championship.
Not that long ago.
Yep. But they also dismissed their general manager, Calvin Booth.
Who put together this roster and won the championship.
And then the owner comes out, or here's the thing. The Denver Nuggets are tied in. Remember Stan Kroenke, the guy who owns the Rams, and he moved the Rams from St. Louis to L.A., money grab?
Yeah.
I think it's his kid, possibly, that's running the Nuggets.
Oh, another idiot who has no idea what they're doing.
So after they fire the head coach, they fire the GM, he has a press conference and basically says, neither one of them really deserved it. Then why'd you do it?
Idiots. That comment should make him at the end of this episode. That is a running for dumbass of the week right there.
Well, because I have 3 weeks worth of dumbasses, I had to set a very high bar.
Well, there we go.
Or low bar, depending.
Very low bar.
Now, those two teams, okay, the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, are technically in the playoffs. Some would dispute the Grizzlies.
Play-ins, really.
But now the Phoenix Suns, that train wreck with the highest payroll in NBA history, didn't even make the play-in tournament. So they fire, after 1 year, head coach Mike Budenholzer, who again has a championship. Granted, that's with the Bucks.
But still, because they couldn't wait to get rid of Monty Williams.
That's what I was going to say. Here's what we're looking at here with the Phoenix Suns. And maybe we can trace this to one. Now, I would say Kevin Durant's got to have something to do with this. Kevin Durant's legacy over the last few years has taken a massive hit. Really. Destroyed the Brooklyn Nets along with James Harden and Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
And Kyrie Irving. Now he's destroyed the Phoenix Suns. The only time he won championships was when he was paired with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green in Golden State.
And maybe, well, all four of them knew how to play together. Mr. Durant seems to think, oh, I don't need the others. I can do this on my own.
And let's say this. LeBron James, everybody knows I hate him. Or at least I don't think he's nearly as good as the media, the sports media pundits make him out to be. I will say this. Compared to Kevin Durant, LeBron James has a sterling record of, at least when he jumps ship and goes to another city and has to have a superstar or two playing with him, they at least win.
Yes.
They at least win.
Yeah.
It's not a train wreck like we've seen with Kevin Durant.
Durant makes every team worse when he gets there now.
But, doing a little investigation, I don't think it's just Kevin Durant. There is a player on the Phoenix Suns, and if he's still there next year with another head coach, one Devin Booker.
Oh.
Devin Booker has been a mainstay in Phoenix for quite a while. If he is still there for the 25-26 season at the beginning with a new head coach, that will be his 8th head coach in Phoenix in 11 seasons.
That's not good.
What do we always say, Dave? The inmates in the NBA are running the asylum.
Yep. Not good at all.
And the space alien commissioner won't do a goddamn thing about it. And I will have a bigger rant about him again at the end of the show.
You know, he just needs to let that silver ball loose. Let that phantasm ball run wild.
Yeah, but that guy at least had some hair.
This is true.
All right, let's talk hockey. How about some hockey here?
Some hacky.
Blackhawks season is done.
Yep.
25, 46, and 11. They closed out the season pretty strong. They
closed out fairly strong. They got up to 61 points.
Yep, and didn't they beat Montreal and Winnipeg?
Yeah,
now Winnipeg wasn't playing for anything.
No.
But the Canadians were.
The Canadians were. So, scary. For the first time in NHL history, none of the 4 American original 6 teams made the playoffs.
That is correct. The Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit Red Wings, Boston Bruins,
and New York Rangers.
Yep, that is sad. That is sad. Now, of course, we would be remiss, and again, keep in mind, we were forced off for a couple weeks. Alex Ovechkin passes Wayne Gretzky, a record that none of us thought would ever be broken.
Nope. Ovechkin's longevity and health allowed him to do it. Plus a wicked fucking shot that he's got.
Yep. He scored his 895th goal, passing the great one for the all-time record for goals scored in the NHL. Both. This is kind of creepy. So Ovechkin got one more goal than Gretzky. Both, if you froze time, both did it in 1,487 games.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yep. And I have my first badass of the week tied in to this. I will sporadically discuss my badasses. I do have a lot of dumbasses, but a lot of badasses as well. Budweiser. Oh my God, yes, Budweiser. Still trying to claw their way back after that trans weird crap advertising debacle from a few years ago. Budweiser Zero. Now, of course, who wants beer with no alcohol in it? But the whole point of it is the zero. They put together specialty cans, individually marked, individually stamped with the statistics. Sent one can in a nice show box to all the goalies, 28 total, who never let Ovechkin score on them.
Wow.
And the cans say 0 of 895 on the front underneath Budweiser Zero. And then at the very bottom of the front, it shows how many shots on goal he had on them, and of course 0 for how many he scored. So 28 total goalies up to this point throughout Ovechkin's career. And Budweiser Zero sent them all a special can.
That's kind of cool.
I think that's awesome.
That's
smart.
That's really, really cool.
That's smart. We still don't forgive you for the drag queen bullshit, but
your trans testicle nightmare.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You're getting there. You're getting better. You understand you made a huge mistake. You're clawing your way back. That's
you
fine.
Still don't have the fighting spirit at the top yet, but
And then I guess because it's a big name in coaching, a couple weeks ago the Philadelphia Flyers fired John Tortorella.
Tortorella, he's a journeyman coach. We talk retreads all the time, and he is one of the biggest retreads.
All right, I've been trying to put this off as long as possible. We got to talk about the Masters.
And Ratface Rory.
And the anger is starting to come. The anger is starting to get back to a level that you would expect from a month ago. Because I get tired of everybody Monday and everybody Tuesday. This was one of the greatest sports moments of the 21st century.
No, it was not.
Oh my God.
Why is it every fucking event has to have set a new record in viewership? Has to be the most spectacular event in the history of sports. Stop the fucking hyperbole.
Speaking of hyperbole, Tony Romo has definitely rubbed off on Jim Nantz, and now he's poisoned.
And not in a good way.
He's poisoned Jim Nantz on golf now too. Jim Nantz was abysmal this weekend, past weekend at the Masters. He had to have his little Tiger moment. Where he sat there and he's giving this soliloquy about, "Oh, Tiger, we miss you so much.
No, we don't.
It's not the same without you here."
Balls.
No, because now you got Rory to fawn all over 24/7. So instead of the focus always being on Tiger, now it was always on Rory. And was it a roller coaster ride? Yes. But that's the thing. There was not consistently good golf played. Rory would hit a double bogey, and then he would come back. And Bryson DeChambeau looked like crap. And then they didn't show Justin Rose, who was having the best round of Sunday. And then Rory chokes on 18, misses the putt, forcing the playoff. And he had a great hole on the first playoff. Justin Rose played solid. Rory played birdie golf to win the whole thing. But then we get the breakdown and the tears, and Jim Nantz is crying, and the boo.
Nantz, just stop, you idiot.
I mean, he literally sounded like a woman going through menopause the whole weekend. With the mood swings, you know. like a 6-year-old woman remembering her time giving birth and her children growing up. That's how he sounded.
That's not good.
So again, Rory McIlroy beats Justin Rose in the playoff. Both finished at 11 under. This completes the career Grand Slam. I cannot believe Rory McIlroy is one of only 6 golfers to have the career Grand Slam.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the names. You look at the names, of course, including Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, Gene Sarazen, Gary Player. I mean, now I have to include Rory McIlroy in this group.
God.
And he went how many years?
Without
11?
winning?
Yeah, at least 11 without winning. And he's only in his mid-30s? I'm sorry. I can't deal with the love and the infatuation this past weekend with Rory McIlroy.
Who has been one of the biggest douchebags in golf over the last 4 years.
I heard one person bring that up. But then, of course, immediately backtrack and said, but if you were rooting against him, you're just a loser.
Then why did you say it?
Yeah, after acknowledging the fact that some people don't like him because he's got an attitude sometimes and his battle with live golf. And I'm like, yeah, because
bending over for Tiger.
Yeah. Then, of course, what was it? They were asking Bryson DeChambeau because they were paired together on Sunday. Well, what did Rory say to you during the round? He didn't talk to me.
And there you go.
Say one more. And then other people, well, that was planned. That was psychological.
No bullshit. Rory's a douche.
And again, what is it with America? What is it with the world? Rooting for these scumbags. Tiger Woods cheated on his wife. Got in a car wreck because he was hopped up on drugs. And don't tell me he wasn't.
He was completely.
Destroying his career not once but twice. Rory McIlroy cheating on his wife. Here within the last couple years. Having to go back and basically beg her
to come back. Ugh.
Can't take it. Can't take it. I will never, ever, ever be on his side.
Don't like him.
Ever,
never did.
No.
Nope.
All right. Let me go through a couple more of my Clint Eastwood badasses of the week. Try to wash the negativity out of my mouth. We just talked about the NBA. Oklahoma City, the OKC Thunder. And I'm rooting for them. We talked about this about a month or two ago when it looked like it was inevitable. We're heading for the Thunder. I still think the Celtics probably will knock off the Cavs.
Celtics could knock off the Cavs.
But if we get the Thunder versus the Cavaliers, everybody's going to whine and bitch and piss and moan. Two small market teams. This is not what the NBA wanted. And if they fucking end up manipulating this shit to have us get the Lakers and the Celtics, I'm done.
You know that's a distinct possibility.
The Celtics, I believe in. The Celtics are defending champions.
The Celtics are a damn good team. The Lakers are not a good team.
Two pampered-ass superstars and a jackass head coach. But by far, Oklahoma City's the best team in the league.
They've been the best team all season.
But they do need to start proving it. Now, we just saw this with Florida in the college ranks. I was waiting for them to choke it away. They were behind in almost every game they played, and I was like, this is the first time through for Golden as a head coach. All the pressure of being a top seed. And they pulled it off. This is what Oklahoma City has got to do now with the NBA.
They need to focus.
Couldn't have had a more impressive regular season. Badass of the week. Oklahoma City had 54 wins by 10 or more points. The old record was the 1971-72 Lakers, who had 50 games where they won by 10 or more points. To put this in perspective, just the 54 games they won, not their win total, the 54 games they won by 10 or more points, that still would have been good enough to have more wins than any other team in the West. They are badasses.
They are good.
Now, we'll be talking about football here in a few minutes. Coastal Carolina. Now, Coastal Carolina's had a pretty decent football program, right?
Yep.
Now, of course, they're not one of the big Power Four, so they're never really going to have a shot.
No.
At
Was
that
it the
top level.
Chanticleers?
I think you're right. Very nice, Dave. Very nice. See, just took a little bit of time for us. We're right back on our game again. But you know, they are badasses. And you want to know why? Because they get it. Instead of taking advantage of the fan base, screwing them over. By the way, let's tie this in real quick. Notre Dame just announced they're going to serve alcohol at all major sporting events.
Yeah, that's so they can get the extra revenue to pay the NIL money.
I know you didn't go last year. Of course, I went with our good buddy Jamie. He was very kind to invite me to the Northern Illinois game. The one game they lost outside of the national championship. The lines for concessions without alcohol were insane.
Yeah.
What is it going to be like if they're serving booze?
Fucking ridiculous.
How about Coastal Carolina? You think Notre Dame's going to be crazy serving alcohol on top of the long lines without? Coastal Carolina has announced that at football games for the 2025 season, if you have the athletic department app, bring your phone to the concession stand, free concessions.
Damn!
You can get up to 4 items per visit.
Wow.
Now, of course, no alcohol.
Right.
But nachos,
still.
hot dogs, popcorn, soda, there are no limits on how many times you can go back.
Dude, that is fucking phenomenal.
Is that not insane?
Oh.
All you have to do is have this app up on your phone and scan it.
They're trying to limit the alcohol intake to keep the fans in control.
And plus the app, they think they will be able to get data on what people are eating.
Yeah.
You know, when they visit the concession stands. if it's analytics based, I'm kind of liking analytics now. But I
Good
cannot
for
believe
them.
that.
That's cool.
Can you believe that? Free concessions.
Well, as much as tickets cost anymore, they better be throwing you a bone.
Yeah, but I don't think Coastal Carolina.
They're not charging outrageous fees, but
then my
wow.
final Clint Eastwood badass for this catch-up edition. And when we get to baseball, we got a lot. We haven't talked about baseball since opening day, so we got to.
Good Lord.
We got to basically talk about the entire first 3 weeks of the season. Baltimore's Tyler O'Neill hit a home run on opening day. Why does that make him a badass? Because it was the record 6th straight year he has hit a home run on opening day.
That's badass.
That's impressive.
That's pretty badass.
Oh, let's look. Some other miscellaneous sports news. Yes, we will, again, dig into football, dig into baseball in a few minutes. We're not trying to put you to sleep here an hour into the show, but if you weren't aware, the UFL season has begun.
Sure.
I used to watch Good Morning Football a lot on the NFL Network. Of course, that was back when Kay Adams was a co-host. Peter Schrager is leaving Good Morning Football, and I like Peter Schrager. Schrags is very entertaining. So,
interesting.
I'll be interested to see if he makes an appearance when we're watching the draft next Thursday. He's usually around on the NFL Network's coverage of the draft.
Are we gonna get a Pat McAfee cast?
Ooh, I don't know. That's interesting.
Just asking.
No, because we are always thinking about what channel are we going to watch.
Right.
And we usually try to avoid ESPN at all costs.
Yeah. Usually we wind up with NFL Network.
But are we going to get a McAfee cast?
If you get a McAfee cast, that could be entertaining.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because that's all I was watching during the college football playoffs.
Oh, yeah. McAfee's cast.
Yeah.
Broadcast of all the... And his cohorts.
Band of goofballs sitting there behind the end zone at all the games.
The
one guy who would do the Lou Holtz impression was just
fantastic.
Stellar.
But, I mean, you talk about a crew that was legitimately impartial on the games. They did a great job not playing favorites like you get up in the main booth.
No, they were just having fun.
Yeah.
And of course,
they made it
the one game, they had to have Kirk Herbstreit and his new dog.
Yeah, well.
Jesus, I'm sick of this.
You know ESPN put them up to it.
And don't get me wrong, I don't own a dog, but I love dogs. But
Herbstreit goes too far.
Yeah. Between Jim Nantz crying about Rory McIlroy and Kirk Herbstreit always crying about his dog. Jesus, what the hell happened to real men? Real men of genius. That'll take you back in the Wayback Machine. In terms
real men don't eat quiche.
Yeah, there you go. One more little hockey tidbit. Congratulations to Western Michigan. Western Michigan won the Frozen Four.
That's impressive.
Wins their first ever
Good for them.
D1 hockey title.
Good for them. That's right, kids. We finally get to talk some baseball here on Spotify, Good Pods, Pocket Cast, Apple Overcast, Castbox, Amazon Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Otherwise known, of course, is iHeartRadio.
Don't forget the Facebook page.
Nope, and I caught up on all the baseball picks, all the NASCAR picks. So we're back up to speed on the Facebook page. And of course, you can find links to each and every episode.
Including the weekend edition. Your Saturday morning hangover cure.
The world-famous, award-winning weekend edition. Your favorite pop culture, politically incorrect pop culture commentary show. And as I mentioned earlier in this show, we're going to be playing catch-up on that one for a month. With all the movies and the TV shows that we were watching.
All the books we've gotten to read.
Yep.
Life has been boring without being able to do this.
Boring yet chaotic. Yeah.
Yes.
An interesting dichotomy. But yes, we have not even talked about baseball yet since the start of the regular season. So we're almost 3 weeks in now. The White Sox are the White Sox.
Yep, worst team in the American League, sitting as we do this at 4-12. Picking up where they left off.
Yep, last place, 5 games back.
Yeah, but at least the Rockies overall are worse.
The Rockies
with
are
3
abysmal.
wins.
The Rockies are awful. Oh, and isn't it great? And we'll talk more about the Rockies at the end of the podcast, by the way. But when the Cubs won the title in 2016, ending their long, long drought, there were 2 guys that I wanted to keep out of the big 4, and 2 guys that I was glad to see go. That if I had been running the team, I would have let them go as well. One of them was Javi Baez, who has done nothing since he went from the Mets and then signed a big deal with the Tigers. And then the other, of course, was Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant's career could be over.
He's still playing?
He's still got that, what was it, $170, $180 million deal he signed with Colorado?
Yeah. That is theft right there.
And now he's on the IL with what they're saying is a degenerative back disc issue.
Yeah.
That's about the worst. The worst you can have as a professional athlete.
Especially playing third base. Forget it.
Now, Anthony Rizzo is still sitting out there without a job, which is sad. The one guy they really should have kept, in hindsight, is Kyle Schwarber.
Well, yeah.
But
because you knew DH was coming down the line.
Yep. And that's where he excels. Doesn't have to play the field. Just can jack 40 home runs a year.
Yep.
So the Cubs are doing fine. They're doing okay. I'm a little worried about the upcoming schedule, which is absolutely brutal.
It's a little tough.
They just wrapped up a West Coast swing, beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3, lost to the Padres 2 out of 3, so they are 12-9 here at end of day on April the 16th, 2025. They are in first place in the NL Central. They're 1 game up on, I believe, the Brewers and the Reds.
Yep.
Bad news with Justin Steele. Of course, he is done. Now, it's not Tommy John yet. They
don't know if it's the full-on replacement or if it's just repairing a partial tear.
Right. So it is not Tommy John yet, but he will be done for sure for the rest of this year.
When are these teams going to recognize the issue and stop having these guys do max velocity all the damn time? Teach them how to pitch. Spot your pitches. Change speeds. You don't have to max torque every throw.
Now, I'm sure
Forget the spin rate. Forget the max velocity.
I'm sure somebody out there will try to prove me wrong, but the 2 pitchers I always think of, Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine.
There you go.
I don't recall either one of them ever having arm issues because of what you just said. That's how they pitched.
Hell, even the flamethrowers. Did you ever hear
Mark
Randy
Burley.
Johnson?
Mark Burley.
Burley
Your
never
guy.
had arm issues. Yeah. Did Randy Johnson have arm issues?
Well, then, if you want to take it to that level, you could talk about Nolan Ryan.
Yeah. Clemens. Yeah. Martinez.
Yeah. But they knew how to pitch.
Yeah. Know how to pitch. Know when to dial it up and when not to. Keep the hitters off balance.
And of course, for months and months and months, I had been bitching and pissing and moaning, as I am wont to do, saying that the Cubs, I didn't want to pay Alex Bregman $40 million a year, okay? But at the same time, if they'd worked on the situation earlier in the offseason and gotten a quality third baseman, or maybe figured out a different way to acquire Kyle Tucker and not give up Isaac Paredes. Oh no, Matt Shaw is the future. Matt Shaw is the answer. Well, they just sent Matt Shaw down because he was hitting 172.
And what did I tell you that I heard? He does not have the arm to play third base.
So that's on the front office. They should have been prepared for this. They should have gone out and gotten a third baseman back in December instead of playing the long game.
Idiots.
And now you hear the disheartening news that talks are stalling with Kyle Tucker. Pete Crow Armstrong turned down a contract extension. That's not a good look for this team.
No.
Where two of your young stars...
balling PCA. Really.
Two of your young stars that should be the foundational pieces of this team are acting like they don't want to be around in the long term.
Because the organization is cheap.
Yeah, and they need another starting pitcher right now, and I have not heard anything. Now, it's early in the season, and most teams aren't willing to trade. And the one team that probably would is the Rockies, and they don't have anybody.
Yeah, so there you go.
And
hey,
one last...
Clevenger's available for you.
No, thank you. No, I don't want trailer trash. Thank you. Shout out to the Cubs catcher, specifically Carson Kelly. I'll tell you what, Amaya and Kelly have been unbelievable as a platoon behind home plate, and especially when it comes to the offense. Carson Kelly, it's been about a week and a half ago, first Cub player to hit for the cycle since 1993.
Oof.
In an 18-3 win against what I'm calling the Sacramento A's. Stop this bullshit. Well, we're going to call them the A's.
No, they're the Sacramento A's because that's where they're playing.
And has there ever been a definitive word on if that Vegas stadium is going to be built?
I have not heard a final decision.
You have got two teams right now in Major League Baseball that are basically homeless.
Yeah, the Rays and the A's.
And I have noticed...
And it's an ownership issue.
I have noticed with the Rays, at least, I tend to follow them more closely than I do the Oakland A's or the Sacramento A's or the Las Vegas A's. Now, that minor league park, Steinbrenner Field, where they're playing. Now, keep in mind, this is in Tampa. In Tampa. Seats a little over 10,000. Every game is sold out so far.
There you go.
But they insist on having them down in St. Petersburg, and I don't understand it.
There's no reason to be in St. Pete. Why?
I've been there once
St.
for
Pete
a concert.
It's a blip. Tampa is the population zone where people will go to see stuff.
Yeah. I went to Tropicana Field once for a concert, and it's a nightmare to get there.
So no wonder nobody goes.
Much easier to get to Tampa proper. Again,
logistics, people. Logistics.
I know you've been missing this, but your Uncle Dave and I have to fucking run everything.
Ugh.
And I know how much your Uncle Dave loves mad, crazy, silly money.
Stupidity.
The Toronto Blue Jays paid Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 14 years, $500 million. I know you love it. I know you do. And this is why I told you a month and a half, 2 months ago, I hated the fact the Cubs traded for Kyle Tucker.
Yep,
They're not
because-
paying him $500 million.
No,
They're
they
too
shouldn't.
cheap. They're too cheap. And that's what he's going to want. He's going to want between 400
Because he's what, 29 right now?
He's not that old. Tucker?
I thought he was.
He's going to want... They did the math on this because, of course, I am an accountant.
What's the average?
It's about 35, 36 million a year. Keep in mind, Bregman got 40.
That was dumb.
That's why I was glad the Cubs did not agree to any kind of a deal with him. But Tucker's going to want
younger than Bregman.
35.
Tucker's going to want 40, 42.
But he's not going to get 14 years.
No.
Because this will put, I believe I read, this will put Vlad Guerrero Jr. at 40 at the end of the deal.
You can't go that long.
Didn't anybody see what happened with Albert Pujols and his deal? Because he played on that deal with the Angels until he was 40.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Stanton. How'd that work out for the Yankees?
Yeah, now they're saying they're encouraged that he might actually start swinging this week. A torpedo bat, most likely. That's the latest controversy here.
Bullshit.
At the start of the 2020...
Bullshit, the torpedo bat has nothing to do with anything for Stanton.
No, but I'm talking in general. No.
A bat is a bat.
Giancarlo Stanton is a fucking China doll. He's sculpted like a Greek god, yet he is a China doll.
Yep.
He's not made of marble, he's made of porcelain. But the torpedo bat is an issue here at the beginning of the season. Is it making a difference?
Is it really?
I don't know one way or the other. I just find it
I
kind of
don't
odd
think
when
so.
you look at side by side pictures.
Anything new is always going to... The torpedo bat has been around for a couple of seasons now.
No, I'm not disputing that.
But why all of a sudden is it a thing? Because the Yankees had one good game
to start the season. Yeah, they had
one game.
They had 9 home runs against the Brewers on March 29th, which was a franchise record. That's the game you're referring to.
That's what brought the torpedo bat into the limelight.
All I'm saying is, I'm not saying the bat's illegal. I'm not saying it's helping or hurting or whatever. But when I look at a side-by-side picture of a quote-unquote normal bat and a torpedo bat, I question Major League Baseball's parameters in terms of what you can get away with when it comes to shaping these bats. It looks vastly different, is what I'm getting at, from a quote-unquote normal bat.
Yeah, it lengthened the sweet spot.
Right, the label. It's thicker around the label.
Yeah. Whatever.
No, I'm not going conspiracy theory on this. I'm just saying it looks very odd to me that this is still a legal bat compared to what I picture a bat to look like.
Yeah. Everything, technology changes everything. You look at how the mitts have changed over the years. They've tweaked the ball.
Well,
they
we
can
know that.
deaden it or liven it.
Yep. We know that.
So, whatever. To me, it's a non-issue.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make it an issue. I'm not. Definitely not.
No, but just the press that it's gotten, people out there are trying to make it an issue. They're trying to create a story where there is no story.
You want to hear something funny?
Fuck you, Ted Turner. Damn you to hell.
Now, we have our fantasy football draft coming up in August. And by the way, how stupid is this? I just got an email today from Yahoo. Fantasy football is now open.
Oh, for the love of God and all that's holy.
We haven't even had the draft yet.
It's not even May.
But, of course, I play fantasy baseball as well. And here's the thing. I am a diehard number one all-time favorite sport is NFL football. I do okay in fantasy. I do pretty good, but not great. Baseball, I barely care anymore. I'm like a king in fantasy baseball. Literally, both my teams are in first base. One roto, one head-to-head. Both first place.
Maybe that's the key. Fuck it. Don't care.
Here's the thing. Yahoo Fantasy Baseball is now, you go to your team to look at your lineup, they're putting a little torpedo bat icon next to the players using the torpedo bat.
Oh, for the love of God.
So I'm not making this up. They're making this a big deal.
A good hitter is going to be able to hit regardless. A shitty hitter isn't going to be able to hit regardless. Oh my God.
Normally you get your little icon that says maybe they got dinged up, hit by a pitch.
Yeah. No, now you get the torpedo.
Yeah, to let you know which players are using a torpedo bat.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Oh my God. Well, Dave, some things never change in baseball. So a few of those things, Max Scherzer's injured.
No surprise.
Just call it quits, dude.
You're done.
Just call it quits.
You are done, Max. You are ruining your legacy.
I was just going to say.
You are destroying what you had been.
You and Verlander both.
Yeah.
Need to retire.
You've hung on 3 years too long, both of you.
So yeah, some things never change. Max Scherzer being injured, and a PED suspension right out of the gate.
Bum, bum, bum.
80-game PED suspension for the Atlanta Braves' newly acquired outfielder, Jurickson Profar.
Idiot.
Cheater's gonna cheat, Dave.
Yep.
Cheater's gonna cheat. And then finally, I hate to do this to you. Save the best for last. Former Chicago White Sox pitcher Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, I know.
6-year, $170 million extension with his brand new team, the Boston Red Sox.
And he had a hell of a game the other day, too.
Yep. He does have an opt-out after the 2030 season. Still, 2030?
I know.
So
and that's not a horrible deal. That's an affordable deal when you look at everything else.
That's still almost $30 million a year, though. And we've talked about the fact these starting pitchers aren't as important because they don't know how to pitch.
He's already undergone arm surgery.
Who knows? Who knows how this will play out?
They're banking on he's already had it done.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the NFL. Again, Dave and I next week will give you our draft preview, and then the week after that, after we have gotten together with the elder statesman, one of our expert panelists, which we do every year, in 2 weeks we will recap the 2025 NFL Draft. But for now, other headlines and news in the NFL. We have rule changes, confirmed rule changes.
Bring back the kickoff, baby!
Touchbacks have officially now been moved to the 35-yard line.
Yep, make the kickers put it between the goal line and the 20. Put it in the return zone and let the returners go.
They will be using the Hawkeye technology for first downs. These are things, of course, we've discussed in the past. This one, these two, the other two kind of confuse me. First off, we figured this was coming. That now the regular season will feature the same overtime rules as the postseason. The first appearance of the Horn of Disgrace. Both teams will now get a possession in overtime in the regular season as well as the postseason. But here's my question, and I did not find a clear-cut, definitive answer on this. They did not add on more time.
No, it's still 10 minutes.
So if you get the ball...
And you eat the clock...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other team might not even get a possession.
Exactly.
I don't know. I can't figure this out.
We've seen overtime games go down to the final minute.
Just play 10 minutes. Just play 10 fucking minutes.
Regardless, back and forth, punt, whatever.
If one team gets the ball twice, so be it. And then they're expanding replay assist.
Oh, this
is the dumbest.
This is fucking stupid.
Because remember last year, one of the big plays that started this outcry was when Sam Darnold of the Minnesota Vikings had his head almost yanked off.
Yeah.
On a face mask, and they didn't call it.
Because they didn't see it. All right. This replay assist bullshit is wrong because they can overturn penalties, but they can't call a penalty that wasn't called. So how does this make any damn sense?
That would never have made a difference in the Sam Darnold play.
Exactly.
It's stupid as hell.
It's dumb. Replay, if a penalty took place that was missed, it needs to be called.
Yeah, so this...
If they called a penalty and it was wrong, it should be overturned. It's not fucking rocket science. You cannot have it both fucking ways. Actually, you have to have it both fucking ways. You have to get the calls right.
Yeah, it is stupid. It's just stupid.
Ugh.
I guess we should be happy they tabled any ruling on the tush push.
Oh my God.
Here's an idea.
Let the fucking play go. Get better at doing it if you're not the Eagles.
And learn
how to fucking stop it.
Oh, here's some good news, Dave. I say this facetiously, of course. Every time I say that, you know there's bad stuff coming that's going to piss Dave off.
It gets my eye a-twitching.
Yep. First up, and I'm assuming this all comes from the same meetings that these rule changes came from. The NFL strongly suggested that one of their next overseas hosts for future NFL games will be the United Arab Emirates.
Oh, there's a shock.
Hell, NASCAR wants to run there. WWE has at least 1 or 2 shows a year there. Why not the NFL?
Hey, the public investment fund's going to shell out the money to bring them over.
But now let's turn to streaming.
Yeah.
The future of the NFL on streaming. First up, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Streaming will be the death of the NFL.
The Kansas City Chiefs want to become the NFL's poster team for Christmas Day. They want to be what Dallas and Detroit are for Thanksgiving. They have... Bless you.
Thank you.
He's allergic to turkey. The minute I say Thanksgiving, he's sneezing. The Chiefs have asked the NFL to be involved in Christmas games. I would assume hosting, because Dallas and Detroit host games every Thanksgiving. So I'm assuming Kansas City wants to host a game every Christmas. Now, of course, before we move on, let's point out the fact that this is a good thing. Not the Chiefs
NFL on Christmas Day is a good thing.
Because Christmas sucked.
When there was no football.
And it was all basketball. In the NBA, we should get Christmas Day. It's our day.
No, it's not.
Well, guess what? 2025 is really going to suck for the NBA. because it falls on a Thursday. So not only are you getting 2 games on Netflix, but then you have the nighttime game, as usual, every Thursday night on Amazon Prime. So 3 games in 2025 on Christmas streaming this year.
Oh, glorious. Because nothing brings families together like watching football.
Come on. It's a great thing. It's a great thing.
It's beautiful.
It's a great thing.
The only thing that could get better is if you put a fucking bowl game back on Christmas Day.
Well, let's talk about the Bears. How about that? Let's talk about the Bears, and we're hoping next Thursday we get some good news in terms of our draft picks. We get the number 10 pick in the draft. But we had a couple signings here over the past few weeks. We have a third quarterback, as the Bears bring in Case Keenum on a 1-year, $3 million deal.
A good, solid veteran presence.
Kind of shocked that they've already said he is not going to pass Tyson Bagent on the depth chart, though. That's kind of odd to me.
Little strange, but a veteran presence that was missing last year.
And then slot cornerback Kyler Gordon gets a 3-year extension for $40 million, $31.25 million guaranteed. That'll keep him with the Bears through 2028 theoretically.
I like it.
That makes him the highest paid slot cornerback in the NFL.
He's been good. He has been rock solid back there.
All right, in other quarterback news, we just talked about Case Keenum jumping on to the Bears ship. Joe Flacco is going back to Cleveland on a 1-year, $4 million deal. So this makes everybody wonder, now that they have Joe Flacco. And then they have Kenny Pickett. And then, of course, you've got Deshaun Watson, that worthless piece of trash.
Who's, by all accounts, is done.
But he's sucking up a paycheck.
Money.
Makes you wonder if the Browns will indeed draft a quarterback with the second pick.
They would be better off waiting.
I think Travis Hunter would be the pick if I was running Cleveland, and God knows that is a train wreck of an organization.
They would be better off with Hunter.
Yeah, they've already got Myles Garrett. I'm a firm believer in balance.
Yes.
And here's the thing with Abdul Carter. I get the fact that Abdul Carter, and I'm already doing our draft preview, sorry. But Abdul Carter, while he could be one of the greatest pass rushers we've seen in a long time, if you look at the second pick with the Browns, they've already got Myles Garrett. The third pick is the Giants, right?
Yep.
And they've already got Burns and Thibodeau.
They don't need one.
You're basically overspending on a certain position.
Right.
Ooh, but we can have Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter. And when you have to pay Abdul Carter when he wants a new contract in 3 years, and you're paying,
but Watson's going to be gone by then.
I believe in balance.
Yes.
Travis Hunter is what the Browns need. And then the Giants need a quarterback. Now, is that going to be Shedeur Sanders? He is dropping. He is dropping in a lot of mock drafts right now. Now, a new player has entered into the fray for a team that might need a quarterback. We know about Pittsburgh. Still have not committed to Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers has not said anything because he's Aaron Rodgers and he's Lord God, King of the assholes.
And they brought in Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
For possibly trading up to get him or thinking he might slip back.
There you go.
To the mid-late first round.
But as they've said,
but now,
whatever, we're comfortable with Rudolph.
You love Mason Rudolph. I know
I think he's one of the underrated guys out there.
And we all have guys like that. We do. And I agree with you. I think he's never gotten the right opportunity.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about another one of those guys here in just a second. A little bit younger, but now the New Orleans Saints come into play. Because Derek Carr, remember back when he was an MVP candidate with the Raiders?
Before the injury?
And ever since then, he has been
abysmal.
Terrible. It's been just one injury after another, one disappointment after another. Now, they're already saying his shoulder is so messed up that he might not play in 2025.
Oof. Ouch.
So now Kellen Moore and the New Orleans Saints come into play for a team that might trade up to try to get a Shedeur Sanders. Or maybe they draft a Jackson Dart.
I was going to say Jackson Dart might be looking pretty good for the Saints.
Drew Lock goes back to Seattle. He will back up Sam Darnold. He's another guy I kind of like.
Yeah, Locke has never really gotten a fair shot.
Nope. And he was the one. New York Giants fans hate his guts because he had that one tremendous game at the end of the season last year that kept them from the number one pick. They won that game, and that knocked them from 1 to 3 in the draft order. Geno Smith, a guy I don't like, gets a 2-year, $75 million extension.
Nope.
Through 2027 with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, we're not sure how they're spreading that money out because he was due for a very, very small amount of guaranteed salary for 25.
Yeah.
So some of that money might go into this year's salary. And then this one blows my mind. Blows my mind. One of the biggest draft busts in terms of quarterbacks in the last decade. Trey Lance.
Oh, good God.
Is going to get this. The LA Chargers on a deal, a 1-year deal that could be worth up to $6.2 million.
Why are you paying him that much money? What has he ever done to There's been nothing to show he can play at this level.
And can I tell you something? And I've mentioned this here over the last couple months, ever since free agency started with the NFL. I was expecting big, big things from the Chargers. With Jim Harbaugh moving into his second year as head coach, they did nothing.
They shit the bed.
They did nothing. They upgraded a bit at running back with Najee Harris. Otherwise, they did nothing. They brought back Mike Williams. Woo! Woo! Mike Williams is back at wide receiver. I was expecting one of the top 10 receivers to be on that team this year for Justin Herbert.
Nothing.
And I'm going to tell you something. People are going to start bagging on him. And it's not all his fault. Some of it is. But he is, when has he had, outside of maybe his rookie year, had a decent set of weapons?
He hasn't had anything when you were stuck with Staley as your head coach, who didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, well...
The only worst situation was the Bears with Eberflus.
And this is definitely not a threat to him. He's going to be like, okay, great.
Whatever.
Trey Lance, Tyler Heineke, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Now, here's the sneaky quarterback news before we move on. And God help me for saying this, the Dallas fucking Cowboys might have pulled off the best offseason move in all of the NFL. Now, Dak Prescott starting to get dinged up, right?
Way overpaid. They're
way
fucked
overpaid.
There.
Now, I don't know how many years it'll take before he can be taken off the books
before he's
minimal,
cap friendly.
With minimal dead money. They just gave up a 5th-round pick to New England to get Joe Milton III, who, in his limited time playing with the Patriots, blew people away.
He did not look bad. He looked like he had something there.
So they trade a 5th round 2025 pick to the Patriots for Joe Milton III and get back a 7th. And that
is a solid move.
This is not Quincy Carter, okay? Joe Milton could end up being the starting quarterback next year for the Dallas Cowboys.
Potentially.
And even if you think about it, this could be the Kirk Cousins Penix thing.
Yeah.
Where right now Kirk Cousins is the most expensive by far backup quarterback in the league.
That could be the most expensive.
You watch, because Milton's costing nothing to the Cowboys on the cap right now. He could end up doing the same thing, being the starter next year, and Dak making $60 million sitting on the bench. You got to look at it as a cumulative number.
Right.
It doesn't matter if your starter's making $2 million and your backup's making $60 and you're stuck with him. You go with the better guy. The cumulative number is still reasonable for the modern NFL.
Yeah.
Arizona tight end Trey McBride. We talked about fantasy football. One of the top 3 tight ends in fantasy football gets a 4-year, $76 million deal with the Cardinals. $43 million guaranteed. That'll take him through 2029. He is now.
Breaking fantasy draft news. Don't take him early because he is going to go down because he got paid.
Well, I already told you. I'm done with tight ends. Maybe Brock Bowers, but now how am I supposed to know what's going to happen with Geno Smith throwing in the ball?
Exactly.
I'm not getting burned on taking a tight end early ever again. Thanks, Sam Laporta, you piece of shit. And by the way, God help me if the Bears take that Penn State tight end.
No. You don't.
This obsession with tight ends is driving me nuts. Not just the Bears,
but overall.
Yep, so Trey McBride is the highest paid tight end now in NFL history. A couple of retirements, and that'll wrap things up for the NFL. Cornerback Patrick Peterson retires, 8-time Pro Bowler, and Dallas Cowboys standout. Now he played for the Jets last year. Left tackle Tyron Smith retiring.
Yep.
2 future Hall of Famers. What do you think?
Potentially. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, moving on to college football. Deion Sanders did get an extension with the Colorado Buffaloes. It's through 2029. Roughly 5 years, $54 million. Oh, I meant to... I won't put this in the dumbass segment, but it definitely probably deserves it. Did you hear that the Colorado Buffaloes are already retiring Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders' numbers?
Oh, for the love of God. How about we wait and see what they do at the NFL level to see if it's warranted?
Well, how about this? Now, Travis Hunter at least won the Heisman.
I could...
But
still...
Number one, wait.
Didn't he transfer in?
But
everybody's transferring.
What? Honestly, I know it's Deion's son, but what did Shedeur Sanders do? Do you realize in the 2 years that he was the quarterback for Colorado, they finished 1 game above 500?
Yeah. So why is he supposedly the second best quarterback coming out of the draft?
And why is he getting his number retired already?
There's no reason for it. One game over 500 for your time there.
But that's
Deion. Does not qualify you for number retirement.
They are going to do anything and everything they can to keep that man happy.
Why?
Because you know eventually Jerry Jones is going to come a-calling. You know Jerry Jones has a picture of Deion Sanders in his office, and when nobody's around, he pulls out a wad of tissues and he jacks off to that picture, thinking he's going to be my man someday. He's going to be my coach someday. Him and his 90-year-old sperm wadded up in a big old box of Kleenex.
Thanks. It's an image nobody needed to have.
It's okay. I got another thing about sperm coming up on the weekend edition, too.
Oh, God. You're just going to splatter it all over, aren't you?
That's what she said. You got the nicest teeth I ever came across.
Whitest.
Locally again, Notre Dame, new format for the Blue Gold game. Now, a lot of schools are getting rid of the spring games, but Notre Dame hanging on to the Blue Gold tradition, although they did change things up. It was
It's
all
offense against all defense. I was actually there.
There you go. Okay.
Got free tickets. Went with my neighbor. Thought, why not? I knew you would not be interested in a Notre Dame spring game. Rightly so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I can think of is bamboo shoots under my fingernails.
There you go. It's all right. We missed the first part of it because we were drinking at Brewburger down at Eddy Street Commons for the start of it. But no, it's skewed. The scoring is dumb.
Yeah, what was it?
We'll give a point for however many yard passes or whatever for stopping a first down or stopping on the goal line.
Well, Coach Freeman said they're going to have to tweak it if they're going to keep this next year. They're going to have to figure out ways to get the defense more points.
Yeah. Yeah. Touchdown, of course, is 7 points. The only way that the defense could keep up was with an interception, which got them 7 points. But, it is what it is. It's teammates going at each other. There were some nice plays here and there, but again, it's spring scrimmage. You get nothing out of it.
Yeah, final score, Blue defeats Gold 76-31. Of course, that means offense beat the defense. Here's the question, since you were at the game, here's the question for you.
All 4 quarterbacks played.
Who looked the best?
Carr and Angeli shined.
Now, if you had to pick between those two.
Carr throws a really nice ball. Angeli's solid. He can hit the passes, and he gives you the legs to be able to scramble a little bit more.
See, now everybody I know around here seems to love Steve Angeli.
He should have been the starter last year.
But then I read where Carr maybe played a little bit better than Angeli.
Carr looked better.
Okay. Oh.
I'm ready to hand the reins to Carr.
Here's some great news. Because we know how much Dave and I love football on streaming. One of the biggest games of the year for Notre Dame, the October 4th home game against Boise State, will only be available on Peacock.
Balls.
Come on. That could potentially be 2 top 15 teams.
Exactly.
And you can't put that on NBC?
That has college football playoff implications. And you're relegating it to streaming. That's how stupid NBC is to not recognize how strong Boise State's football program actually is.
Yeah. Last time I checked, they made the college football playoffs. Didn't they this past year?
Yes,
Both
they
these
did.
teams did. That's why I'm saying this top 15 matchup should be. All right, we've already talked about how we've got the NIL situation, which is just screwing everything up. But Josh Heupel, head coach of Tennessee, might have struck a blow for all coaches across America. as he said to quarterback Nico Iamaleva, who wanted to renegotiate his NIL deal and was holding out. He said, bye-bye, hit the bricks, kid. We don't want you.
Yep. If you are putting yourself above the team, bye-bye.
Now, I saw vastly different numbers depending on the source in terms of what his NIL deal was. I saw $2 million a year. I saw somebody say it was an overall deal worth $10 million. Supposedly Oregon snuck in and said to him, hey, buddy, why don't you talk to us? Now I'm hearing UCLA is in play. But yeah, Tennessee told him, said, suck it.
Bye-bye.
You know, at some point it's about the team.
Yeah, and really, he wasn't all that good.
No.
So, bye-bye.
All right, before we move on to moments of silence, we do want to bring up, which we've been doing more and more lately, the return of Frenzy 5-0. Now, this one goes back a few weeks, but former NFL running back LaShawn Johnson has been federally charged in a dogfighting case involving 190 dogs.
This makes Michael Vick's thing look like kindergarten issues.
I get pissed off about this. I get so pissed off about this. Because remember...
the vitriol everybody had against Michael Vick.
And then all of a sudden, it went away.
It's all good.
Now he's forgiven. He's a great guy.
No.
Let's put him on national
Bullshit.
TV shows. Maybe it's just me.
Oh, no. I still hold Michael Vick.
I don't forgive that easily.
I still hold him accountable for that. But this makes what he did look tame. This is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, again, 190 dogs involved in this dog
This
fighting
is
case.
This is awful beyond awful.
And then some people will say we're callous and cruel for bringing this up, but LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey committed suicide during a police chase due to the fact that he was wanted in part for his part in a fatal car accident back in December.
Fucking pansy. Took the easy way out. Did not man up and take responsibility for his actions.
And then I believe leading up into this chase, he had a gun. He was threatening a woman, maybe, possibly, a girlfriend, something like that. But it did all
just an overall piece of garbage.
It did all stem from the fact that the trial, the sentencing, I believe something was coming up in that fatal car accident case.
Yep.
All right, moments of silence. No, he does not get one.
No.
But moments of silence in the world of sports. Tragic, what was it, nightclub ceiling collapse?
Oof. Yeah.
Was that down in the Dominican, or where was that? Venezuela?
I think it was in the Dominican Republic.
But there were a lot of former Major League Baseball players and people related to Major League Baseball players involved in that. And unfortunately, longtime Major League Baseball pitcher Octavio Dotel.
Yep. He pitched for like 9 different teams.
Yeah, but he was around for quite a while.
Yeah.
In the MLB ranks. So I want to say 15 years.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers to all their families and friends, even those not sports related, just a tragic event.
Yep. And then you had the 1966 National League Rookie of the Year for the Cincinnati Reds, Tommy Helms, passed away here recently.
Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.
And then former NFL tight end Don Hasselbeck. Of course, the father of NFL quarterbacks Tim Hasselbeck and Matt Hasselbeck passed away.
Thoughts and prayers to the Hasselbeck family and friends.
All right, you've missed it. You love it. You know it.
It is time. Who gets the golden boot up the ass? In this week's edition of the Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week contest.
All right, now give me a break here. I have been very good about restraining myself, but I'm dealing with 3 weeks worth of dumbasses. So I think the fact that I got it down to 7 is pretty good.
I'm impressed.
Okay.
I expected 14.
The weekend edition might be a little crazy. I think maybe 8. Okay, we'll see how my math is here. So first, let's go back, just like I did with my Clint Eastwood Badass. With Tyler O'Neill, I went back to opening day. So I'm going to go back to opening day for a dumbass. And that would be Major League Baseball. Because I heard from multiple people, multiple sources, that the Major League Baseball MLB app crashed repeatedly on opening day when people were trying to watch their team.
Oh, that's not good.
Again, do we not beta test anymore?
Did you learn nothing from Netflix and The Fight?
Let's go to tennis. Now, this is funny. British tennis player Harriet Dart. She was getting her ass kicked by French tennis player Lois Boisson.
Croissant?
Well, towards the end of the match, obviously she's distraught. Miss Dart is, right? She's getting her ass handed to her, about ready to lose. She's railing about this and that, and she decides to tell the chair umpire, "Can you please tell her to wear deodorant? She smells really bad." That is a direct quote, by the way. That's what she said to the chair umpire about
her opponent,
Lois Boisson, who beat her ass.
Well, there is that long-standing French rumor.
Can you tell her to wear deodorant? She smells really bad. A very classy way to lose. Now we mentioned.
Now, does her opponent tell the chair to make sure she doesn't smile because she's got really bad teeth?
The thing is, Miss Boisson actually handled it very well. And after, I think, now I'm going to paraphrase on this one, but I think afterwards, when asked about it, after the match, she said something about, "I guess I should start talking to somebody like Dove and get a product endorsement."
That's badass.
Yep. All right, so we mentioned this was coming earlier. The Colorado Rockies are the worst team in baseball. How bad are they? The Colorado Rockies, in a 3-game weekend series here at the beginning of the season versus the Padres, scored 0 runs in 3 games. Now it gets worse because the Cincinnati Reds. Now this crosses over into 2 different series.
Right.
Whereas the Rockies didn't score any runs against the Padres in 3 games. The Reds went 3 games losing 1-0. 3 straight games.
Ouch.
Early season baseball futility for the Rockies and the Reds. Now, we talked about the Masters, and we talked about how Jim Nantz made a spectacle of himself. But there were questions. We have traditions at Augusta, right? We have traditions. One of the traditions is the low amateur shows up and sits with Jim Nance and
Right.
the winner of the green jacket. The low amateur is always invited, right? But this
Right.
year, the low amateur was not there, which led to speculation. Why is he not there? Now, it turned out it was because there is a stipulation where if the low amateur doesn't make the cut for the weekend, they don't get invited. But many people thought it was because low amateur Jose Luis Ballester decided in the first round at the 13th hole he couldn't hold it anymore. And he took a piss in Rays Creek in the middle of his first round. But they say, no, that's not why.
Oh,
that's
bull
not
crap.
why. It's because there's a little stipulation where you have to at least make the cut as the low amateur.
Whatever.
Your favorite commentator and mine, Stephen A. Smith, came out here recently and said he is actually considering a presidential run on the Democratic ticket. Do you really need me to say any more?
No. This ranks up there with Oprah.
Oh, we'll talk about Oprah on the weekend edition. I got some stuff for Oprah. Couple of NBA dumbasses. The Knicks, Mikal Bridges. Now, we called Josh Allen out for this bullshit in the NFL. The Knicks, Mikal Bridges wanted to extend his games played streak to 556. So in the final Knicks game of the regular season, he played a grand total of 6 seconds. Quickly committed a foul and got pulled out of the game. But he got to extend his games played streak.
Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
And you want to hear something on an ancillary note? So, obviously, Mikal Bridges played all games this season, all 82 games. You know how many players in the NBA? How many players are there in the NBA, would you say? Roster's got 15 per team, right? That's not counting
32.
call-ups and things like that. So, about 450, 500 minimum.
Yeah.
11 players.
Played
82
every
games.
game.
11 players.
That's sad.
Played 82 games this
That
year.
is sad.
Yep. 11 players played 82 games in the NBA this year. And then we've got somebody who I am growing to hate with a passion. And if I was the alien, I would actually consider kicking this shitbag out of the league. I don't care if he's one of your quote-unquote young stars. And this, of course, is the Grizzlies' Ja Morant.
Why are we still talking about this fucktard?
Because he doesn't learn from his mistakes. He repeats them and rubs it in everybody's face. $75,000 fine for once again doing a long gun gesture after hitting a basket. And the NBA told him, we don't want this anymore. We're done with this.
Especially from you fucktard. You've been suspended twice for having a gun. Idiot.
So what's his response? Now he's decided to do a grenade celebration.
You idiot.
And he says, I'm going to do this now until somebody stops me. I'm telling you, I would tell this kid, I'd pull him into the office if I was a commissioner and say, you're no longer wanted in my fucking league.
You're done. Bye-bye.
Because you're just trying
to be an asshole.
And I'm sick of the prick. I'm sick of him. How many chances do you need to get? And if I own the Grizzlies, Not only if I was a
His ass
commissioner of the
is
NBA,
cut.
not only if I was the commissioner of the NBA, but I was a teammate or the owner of the Grizzlies, I would live in fear that this guy is potentially, every night he goes out, going to kill somebody.
Yeah. His
affection for guns, his love for gun culture is not healthy. Not the way he does it.
No, this guy he is a major problem.
All right, our last dumbass nominee for catch-up week here. This will go to prove I hate all politicians. Doesn't matter what side they're on. Now, is it J.D. Vance's fault that they did not tell him, maybe?
That the trophy was not complete?
If you have not heard by now, Vice President J.D. Vance is... Now, I'm glad that finally these teams, these athletes, have ditched the bullshit from the first time Trump was president, where they wouldn't go to the White House. Now all these teams are going to the White House like they should, like normal. But Ohio State, the football team, goes to get honored for winning the national championship, and J.D. Vance basically dropped half the trophy.
The base? Because it wasn't connected.
Yes. So I don't know if nobody told him. Shouldn't somebody... But if he knew, then that's on him. He's the dumbass. But somebody then otherwise should have told him, it's
Hold it by the base.
It's a two-piece trophy, VP. You know, be careful with it.
Why is it a two-piece trophy?
He dropped.
Are they that damn cheap that they can't have a full one piece?
He dropped the base, and then I think one of the Ohio State players had to catch the top half.
Yeah, because it went all out of whack on him.
Yeah. But still, a very embarrassing moment for Merca. So to recap, your dumbass nominees for this multi-week catch-up episode are the MLB app for crashing repeatedly on opening day, British tennis player Harriet Dart for calling out her opponent for smelling really bad, Jose Luis Ballester for pissing in Rays Creek during his first round of the Masters, the Rockies and the Reds for 3-game futility to start the baseball season, Stephen A. Smith running for president, Mikal Bridges in his 6 seconds. No, we're not talking about we're not talking about that. We're talking about him keeping his games played streak alive. J.D. Vance dropping Ohio State's national championship trophy, or Ja Morant just not getting it.
Ja Morant, because he's just a fucking asshole.
Can't argue. Can't argue with that one bit. That's who I would go with as well. Because this goes beyond dumbassery.
It does.
He's borderline sociopath is what he is.
Yes.
And the fact that they're letting him get away with this is
time
why
and time again.
I can understand why people become disenchanted with sports because of people like Ja Morant.
Yeah.
He's a borderline sociopath who needs therapy, counseling, and he needs some tough love, which means the Grizzlies and the NBA front office...
They need to say bye-bye.
But they're scared to death of him for some reason. Probably because they're afraid he's going to shoot them. Well, if you kids thought that 2 hours was fun...
Just wait till the weekend edition, baby.
We're back for your Saturday morning hangover cure. My God, have we got a ton of stuff. We've got new rock and roll. We have got...
movies, TV, streaming, books. We got it all.
Just check out the weekend edition. I beg you. I beg you. As Dave and I basically were sequestered for different reasons in our homes for weeks on end. So
we should have been back last week at full strength.
Yes, and that is all AT&T's fault.
Stupid internet.
But we will make it up to you over the next month. classic movie reviews, tons of TV and streaming shows to catch up on, tons of books, tons of movies, tons of dumbasses. We'll have it all for you starting this Saturday morning, April the 19th. But until then, he's your Uncle Dave.
He's your Uncle Kev.
Say goodnight to the kids, Dave.
Good night to the kids, Dave.